That said, you kind of imply there's a reason behind this whole existence of ours. There's a meaning to it. So let me ask, what is the meaning of life, Anthony? Do you think about these ridiculous big questions that have no answer every once in a while, or do you just enjoy the shit out of every day?
I answer it in a way that isn't meant to be accurate. It's meant to be the right answer for me, which is ultimately, and I talk to a lot of people who always ask, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I say,
Why?
it's to be happy. And the reason why I think of it that way is I've got a friend, Jonathan Geller, who talks about, enough being enough. And recently he talked about it in the context of Bitcoin. And so Bitcoiners have two things. Any Bitcoiner, if you talk to them, they believe the same two things. One, they don't want the US dollar price to go up because they actually want to acquire more Bitcoin, right? And then let it go once they feel like they've got enough. But two is no matter how much they own, they think that they don't own enough and they want to acquire more.
Yeah.
And so at some point, you say to yourself, what is enough?
Yeah.
And I think that the whole meaning of life is to understand kind of what your level of satisfaction is. And for some people, that's a monetary thing. Some people, that's a freedom of time thing. For some people, it's an impact thing, whatever. But just understanding that's important and then going and accomplishing it. And what I've found is that the people who I know who have done this and been intentional about it, they accomplish it on a much shorter timeline than people who don't. Right? There's some people who start thinking about this when they're 60. Well, naturally, you're not going to accomplish it before you're 60 if you just start thinking about it at 60. People who start thinking about it earlier can do it. And so I think that's really it. For me, it's just like the meaning of life is to enjoy it.
The way I think about it, that's because it's a really nice formulation. I almost like to sort of oscillate back and forth. So majority of the time is spent to the mode of enough is enough, of gratitude, of basically being content with where you're at, like deeply appreciative of every moment and all the Bitcoin, whatever Bitcoin you have, being deeply appreciative of it and that being enough. And then some fraction of time, perhaps it shrinks as you get older. That's maybe there's an optimal trajectory there, but some fraction of time is spent being like deeply self-critical and nothing is enough. Nothing you've ever done is worth anything. It's the Marvin Minsky said, like, the secret to success is hating everything you've ever done. So like that mode of just hating everything you've ever done and just like trying to improve, trying to make stuff better. It's nothing is enough. It's never enough, that kind of stuff. And then oscillating back and forth. Like you don't have to have the same algorithm operating throughout the day. You could just like oscillate back and forth and maybe reserve that gratitude part, the chill part to when you're hanging out with family and friends and loved ones. And then when you're like alone or maybe at work, is that the madman comes out kind of thing.
I also think it's kind of purpose driven in the sense of there's a lot of people who have the I need to do more, but in a somewhat altruistic way. So they're take Elon as an example. The idea of colonizing Mars, sure, if he is successful, he will be very rich. I don't think you or I or many people believe he's doing it for the money, right? There's a lot of other things he could do that would be much easier that would make him tons of money. And so in some weird way, he has enough because he's able to free himself from the constraints of I need to acquire more resources, and he can focus on what is the thing that I want to work on regardless of money. And so in that pursuit that is non-economic, you can be as selfish as you want because ultimately you're not tied back to this like measurement tool. And so it's this, again, like altruistic, non-monetary purpose. And I think that there's a lot of people who spend their whole life looking for that and they don't know what it is. And so, again, some people may not think of it that way, but if you can find something to do that, you win.
I don't think there's a better way to end it, Anthony. I'm a huge fan. It's a huge honor that you waste all this time with me today. I thank you for just educating the world, for teaching me, inspiring me to learn more about this new set of technologies that look like they have a potential to change, transform all of human civilization. So thank you for coming today, and thank you for being who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.